Hello everybody and welcome. My name is Maria Marcano and I am the Burnout Repair Coach. In this segment, we talk about solutions to prevent or reverse the physical, emotional, and mental damage that comes from career burnout after being under stress for so long. And my aim is to give you tools, practices, and knowledge that you can use in order to regain your vitality, your energy, your mental focus, and then move into success, but a success that is sustainable. That way you can achieve your goals without breaking your body or your relationships in the process. Today, I'm going to take some time to tell you my story. I don't think I've done that before. And I'm going to tell you my story focusing on the number one mistake I find career professionals make when it comes to trying to deal with stress or overwhelm or even burnout. The truth is that most people like me that end up burning out like I did about a decade ago, they start at an early age. So we have personality traits that are typically characterized as the type A personality. I prefer to call people like me high achievers. And when you are a high achiever from an early age, and again, this has to do with some of your upbringing, but I believe part of it is actually a natural charisma that we mismanage, you tend to actually go for the best possible outcome as early as high school, maybe college. So in a way, you are pushing yourself from a very early age, but at that time you're young enough that you can deal with it. But after a few years into that, you move into your own career, you are moving in that with that same intensity with an ideal of how your career is going to be. And I remember my ideal. So I came here from another country to go to college, and I have a suitcase full of dreams, and I thought that I was going to achieve my American dream. But in my American dream, I had all the time in the world to enjoy it. I thought that I was going to be this successful but worldly woman that could have access to the theater, the things that I love, to travel, to have a network of wonderful, incredibly intelligent friends, that I would have time for my loved ones, for my family, and that at the same time as I was successful in my career. But that didn't turn out to be the case. And so this ideal turned out to be a nightmare for me. A few years into my career, I kept that momentum that I had from high school and college of just going all in and pushing my body and myself in order to achieve this ideal that didn't ever look like possible after a while. What ended up happening was that both my body and my emotions started to deteriorate. And I could feel it in my body because of the fatigue and other symptoms. And it was only when the emotional aspect was obvious that lack of motivation, I was so driven and motivated, and all of a sudden I was completely disengaged. I pretty much hated having to go to my job, and I didn't want to do anything else other than maybe hide in my house and rest when I had the time. Often it felt like I was depressed, but I didn't think that was it. And then when I was on a very high stress situations, anxiety will kick in, and that felt really uncomfortable to me. Again, I didn't know what was happening. I'm going to tell you what the problem was and how I arrived at that point. My problem was that all this drive, all this desire to succeed and to do well that started at an early age was unconditionally rooted on fear and survival. So everything I did came from a space of fear and survival. Of course, I did not know that, and most overachievers or high achievers or type A, however label you want to use, I prefer not to label people, they don't know it either. I truly just behave this way because that was my personality, right? And the personality truly is a construct of behaviors that become habitual. So what did I do as I was successful in my career? I felt fear in an unconscious way all the time. What that did is it would trigger my stress response consistently and constantly. What kind of fear do you think I was experiencing? Well, this is a type of fears that we unconsciously are running our body through without knowing. And this disguised as drive and high achieving. Fear of the competition, fear of making a mistake or failure, fear of being taken advantage of, fear of being passed for a better opportunity, fear of losing a client. All of these are fears, and they make you run basically on a cocktail of stress chemicals, and all of a sudden your body and your emotions, of course, start to morph into what we now call burnout. I did not know that this was happening. And what you don't know, you cannot fix, right? You only know what you know. And so what I did is that I felt the discomfort, physical discomfort and the emotional and mental discomfort, and I assumed that is normal. That was what everybody else was experiencing. So I kept on pushing, moving forward, knowing, okay, I'm just going to, and notice how often you see people or you yourself say, I'm just going to have to push through this. That it's an indicative of that you're running on survival and fear mode at the root of all of this. I did the same. I didn't know any better. First of all, I never had the time for this type of deep thinking or knowledge. I didn't know any of this. So I just kept pushing and going through the motions. And my excuse was, I just need to wait. This will go away. This will take care of itself. I just got to push through this. And my ideal future, right? I still was holding this ideal of success. It's going to happen as if it was a destination that didn't require me to behave in a different way, as it was not related to how I experienced the world. It was like a picture where I was walking towards that picture. So I kept telling myself, I'm going to wait. This is going to go away. So what I did was I ignored all the symptoms, or I cope with them with the wrong mechanisms, such as drinking alcohol, eating sugar, drinking coffee, shopping, and all this other negative behavior that many of us used to cope. But the problem didn't go away. The problem didn't subside, but I kept saying, I just gotta wait. This is gonna go away. Or I actually maybe was feeling afraid because this wasn't going away, but I had no other tool to use. So the part of the story that is really sad for myself and for most people that end up burning out is that what we're doing every time we postpone the work that needs to get done every time, and by work I mean the personal work, every time we postpone our well-being, every time we push, we are abandoning ourselves. And that's what I did. And let me tell you what, there's a part of you that suffers and knows of this abandonment. And that's when the emotions get so sad, like I hear and I myself did, where you sometimes go to work and you could cry on the drive to work. Or you get home and you're so overwhelmed, you just want to crawl and then go to sleep and just forget about everything else. That comes from self-abandonment. Now, did I know that? No, I didn't. And most people don't even think they're abandoning themselves. They think, like I did, that I needed to stay strong. I was proud of the fact that even though I was under stress, I looked cool and put together and no one could tell. That was my strategy. What a bad strategy that is, let me tell you. Because this is what happens when you keep waiting. If you remember, many years ago in the 90s, there was a documentary called An Inconvenient Truth. And in this documentary, they describe the metaphor of a frog and warming water. That's exactly how it feels when you are in the process of burning out. What happens is the water keeps warming up gradually, and so the frog adapts to the temperature of the water, knowing that it's in danger. But in the process of adaptation, it loses its mobility and the ability to escape by the time that the water hits a point where it's alarming. That's what happens to us when we burn out. We adapt to this thing of like, I'm just going to push through. I'm just going to be strong. I can cope with this and that, and not take real action and take this matter with the importance that it has. So we adapt and adapt. And by the time our body is stewing in the stress and inflammation and cocktail, and our mind is also overwhelmed, and our adrenals are exhausted, and all these systems start to collapse, it's too late, and we cannot come out of it unharmed. That's exactly what happens. What happened to me at 33 years old is that the doctor told me that I was perimenopausal. That means that I aged myself about 20 years just by the sheer level of pressure and stress that was not only external but internal, because I chose to wait. And at that time, I realized that the conventional methods available were not going to help me. I realized that I needed to do something different, but I could have probably saved myself a whole lot of money and time by acting sooner. So just think about you as that frog in the warming water. And notice how often you tell yourself to wait. This is what I hear all the time. I'm going to wait till the kids get out of school. I'm going to wait till they grow older. I'm going to wait until I get this new position. I'm going to wait until I make this much more money. I'm going to wait until I hit this goal, until I move, until I get on a vacation. And then you're just paralyzed. And nowadays things get even worse. I'm going to wait until the economy gets better. I'm going to wait until we get new leaders. I'm going to get until the pandemic ends. I'm going to wait and wait and wait and wait. And this is costing you your life and your relationships. I'm not here to make you feel guilty. I'm here to help you understand that this is what we do, because I did it and most of my clients say it to me all the time. I want you to understand this imaginary place that I design in my head, this idealistic place where I would always have the time to do all these things, is actually depleting you, because life doesn't happen that way. This place called someday, it actually starts to deplete you, because every day that goes by, your body's going through the stress response and the chemical and effects of it that then turn into chronic issues, oftentimes chronic disease, high blood pressure, autoimmune disease, digestive issues, headaches, migraines, anxiety, depression, and so much more. So waiting makes things worse. Every day you wait and you don't seek help and you don't start correcting the mindset and the nervous system patterns that make you burn out, you're actually not receiving energy to repair the body, and the body breaks down further. Listen to what happened to me. I went into perimenopause at 33. That is how systemic the breakdown of my physical body ended up being. So when you're under cortisol, inflammation, and all that psychological stress, that nervous system starts creating incoherence in the body, and so it depletes you. Your body is not getting energy to recover, to manage anything, because all the energy is using to go into that stress response. And so it's kind of like you are in survival mode. You are on survival mode. So to add to that issue of waiting being imaginary, this place not really existing, and what's happening while you wait, is what happens with your relationships. The breakdown of your relationships while you wait is real. And what I have found is that in my clients' life, their family members and their coworkers become innocent bystanders and victims of this situation. They're watching you and they're watching you suffer and they suffer, or then your stress is actually creating pressure because you're now pressuring them, and they're just hoping that you do something now. They also want you to stop waiting. So think about the big picture. And then do this as a one step forward to get you out of this situation of always waiting. I'm going to suggest that you write down your core values, about 5 of them, your top core values, things that are important to you. This can be things like your family, your health, your spirituality, your finances, things that truly matter in the order of which, you see them. And they might change in order depending on where you are, your health. If you have an issue, it's going to go to the top. But with that in mind, knowing what your core values is, I'm going to ask you that every single day, you take care of at least one of those core values. Don't wait. Don't wait if it's health. Don't wait until next year when you get 3 more diagnoses before you change your diet. If it's your family, don't wait until the kids, go to college to then realize that you didn't spend time with them. Spend time with them now. Make sure that those top core values get addressed on a daily basis. And then notice how some of the things that you up until now thought were so important start to take a secondary space and you renew yourself. So what matters to you when you do this is the cool thing about it. When you do this, you actually get more energy because your core values energize you. When you do something that matters to you, when you do something that brings you joy and happiness, you actually get endorphins and dopamine and all this feel-good hormones, and your body can move into repair. And then you can make better decisions. So I want you to really consider your core values and then make sure that you infuse them every day. Please promise yourself to stop making this mistake of waiting. Can you please promise me that you're not going to make yourself suffer by waiting or others by you waiting? To sustain your energy, to really avoid or come out of burnout, you cannot wait. Waiting is the worst strategy ever. You cannot keep asking yourself and others to wait for a time that might never come, because that time might be sadly too late and something very unhappy can happen. So instead, just infuse your day with these core values. Make sure that you energize yourself by paying attention to them, and promise not to longer abandon yourself by convincing your body and your mind that you have to wait. The decision is yours and the time is always now. So I hope this was really helpful and that my story can support your journey, because you do not have to end up burning out. And if you have burned out already, you don't have to stay there. You don't have to break your body or your relationships in the process of achieving success. So come back and get more tools from me. If you want to stay in touch, please stay in touch. You can find me online, social media, or website at Om My Wellness. That's OM My Wellness. And in those spaces, I'll be happy to support you further. I hope that you really stop waiting. Do not be that frog in the warming water. Be free, call the shots in your life, and then put yourself first. Thank you.